Hello, my name's Kaya, and this is my submission for the visual aid speech. Yeah. What if I told you that today I would be taking you to an international paradise, somewhere you have never been before and probably have never heard of? I will be taking you to see mangroves, the bluest and clearest ocean, and enjoy a charming cuisine. However, there are a few stipulations as where I'm taking you is very sacred and a beautiful island. All I need from you is your word that you will be a respectful tourist as you are going onto land that is not yours. If you can do that, then I will gladly take you. Well, symbolically, of course. Today, we are going to be traveling 6,175 miles to Palau. And as your tour guide, I should let you know we will be landing on the beautiful island of Guam, where you will have to take a 30 to 40-minute plane ride to our final destination, Palau. What you will see when you first land after nearly 21 hours of travel is most likely the outside of the Roman Temmelhoek Airport. It is the main airport people rely on to travel in and out of Palau, and if you look closely, you will see some of Palau's infamous architecture. It is shaped almost like a hut, and it is called a bai. This is some of Palau's most common architecture, and it has been preserved well throughout the island. But where will you stay? First, you will either have to take a family member's car or perhaps seek out a taxi service to drive from where the airport is located into town. When I say town, I mean the city of Koror. The city of Koror has a population of 11,444. It is bustling where people drive on the right side of the road in their Japanese brand cars, and if you're lucky, you may notice my personal favorite, the Suzuki Jimny. As you drive by, you may even see American soldiers drinking in the popular restaurant, the Canoe House, or playing darts. The first thing I want to speak to you guys about is tourism and the effect of tourism. But first, we have to figure out where you're going to be staying. Most likely, it is going to be the Palau Royal Resort, or better known as PRR. It opened in 2005 and has been one of the hotels that have participated in the obvious moves to ensure Palau becomes a hotspot for tourists. Truthfully, many older Palauans do not like the big resorts that have been built throughout the island, as they have taken away from the simplistic beauty they once knew. What used to be pure nature, where anybody could have unlimited access to the ocean, is now land used for resorts and hotels. For instance, my father, who is now in his 50s, had returned back to Palau in 2022 after decades of not seeing the island, in which I distinctly remember him looking at the fancy resorts with distaste, as the place where he had many fond childhood memories were now simply a place for tourists and seemingly a distraction from the beautiful flora. During your stay, you may notice many native Palauans working service-related jobs. However, there are many immigrants who also call Palau home. There are Chinese immigrants, Bangladeshis, and other Micronesians. The people of Palau are very easygoing and friendly to all who visit, so it's greatly appreciated that as tourists we extend the same courtesy. Another key part of being a tourist in Palau is the respect you must give to the island and its nature. We have seen many beautiful places become tarnished due to tourism. That is why the children of Palau enacted a pledge that asks all visitors to promise that they will not do anything that would harm the natural amenities of the island. This call to action has garnered over 800,000 pledges. This pledge serves as the visitor's visa and grants them admission into the island. An example of this pledge is wearing coral-friendly sunscreen when visiting the ocean. Like many places who have coral reefs, we are also working hard to preserve it, and things like aerosol sunscreen or just certain brands like Banana Boat, it would be very damaging to the coral reefs, so that's why just little changes like that can help preserve things that we truly love to see in the island and that we look forward to seeing, and without that, we'll no longer be able to see it. So, when visiting Palau, you also get to try a unique blend of Japanese, Filipino, and Palauan influences. As a tourist traveling throughout the islands, you may find yourself getting gas. Inside the gas station, you can find yummy bento boxes full of fried chicken, packaged spam musubis, things like that. You'll see grade school kids grabbing a bento at local shops before heading to school. Despite the commingling of cultures, you can find authentic Palauan food in many places all over the island. For example, near where the airport is located, if you go up into the mountains into Honto, you can find people under these bais selling, bento boxes, pickled papaya. And this is not something that is just meant for tourists. If you live in Honto and you're on your way to work or even on your way home, you may find people selling these things, some of which could include fish with rice, which is a delicacy in Palau. Now, in more upscale places, you might find a restaurant that is run by Filipinos. They'll have a plethora of dishes, from big American-style breakfasts to sweetened spaghetti. However, being in Palau means having access to all types of fish. You can have it smoked as sashimi, or at some places you can get them as a roll. Wherever you choose to go, whether it's local markets or going to Red Rooster, it is very important that we follow the Palau Pledge and either bring reusable bags or even reduce how much plasticware you're taking with you, whether it's back to the hotel or your next spot. This even goes a bit farther, as when you're traveling, you may be shopping and forget some of the things that you were supposed to bring on the trip, or buying souvenirs, and think about it. What does it go in? A plastic bag. And now at the end of your trip, you might find yourself with tons of those, and it can be very hard to properly dispose of it. Another point that I wanted to bring up is that, Palau is an island, and there's not that many places where this trash can ultimately go before it ends up in the ocean. And I'm proud to say that in Palau, as someone who's obviously been there and has gone to the beaches, even in the more touristy areas, there is no littering. There is no trash being put in by the ocean or going out into the ocean. So that is a way that this Palau Pledge is really working and encouraging tourists to take this seriously. Now, moving on to attractions in Palau. This is one of the best parts of being in Palau, and there's only so much I could say within this speech that would really describe the beauty and the fun activities that bring tourists to Palau. But I do want to say that there are many local businesses that will teach you how to safely snorkel, about water safety, and being able to enjoy the ocean as much as you can while you're there. Now, as your tour guide, it is important that you visit the Rock Islands and get to sail through the ocean. This is a great opportunity, of course, to support local businesses that will help transport you to the Rock Islands, as you need a boat, but even more important, that you keep all articles and trash with you so you can dispose of it when you are back on the mainland. Now, the next example I'm going to be talking to you about, and this is common even with the Rock Islands as well, is that the Milky Way and the Rock Islands are in really isolated spots. As you can imagine, you're in a pure island and you have to go far out to see the Milky Way or the Rock Islands, and there's not workers or anybody that's going to return back to the island to pick up the trash. So when you're bringing your food and whatever it is that you need, or even your own personal belongings, it's really important that they don't get left behind, as no one's going to go pick them up and they'll probably just stay there forever. But moving on, another notable tourist attraction is the Milky Way, which may sound like some kind of galactic experience, but is actually the closest thing to a retreat most will experience. You can take a boat to the part of the island where there is this white goo, which is white limestone mud, and many will cover themselves in it, and you can let it sit there. You can sit on these little kind of boards that are really in the middle of the ocean and just kind of sit there and relax, whether it be with your tour guides, your family, other tourists, and you bathe in it and you kind of just rub it all over your body, and it's meant to kind of serve as some kind of mask. It's very pungent, but it actually makes for a very fun activity for kids, and truthfully, I have not seen anything really like it, especially as it's not man-made. It's produced on the island. You have to go to the bottom of the ocean to get it. And locals claim that bathing in the white limestone mud found on the water's floor can actually make you look 10 years younger. But none of this would be possible if we didn't have the Palau Pledge and the laws that Palau are slowly turning out to kind of encourage people to, being tourists, to respect the island, be conservative in the waste that they're making, so that way we can continue to have tourism and have attractions like the Rocky Island, the Milky Way, which are just pure nature, and it's been really well preserved. And that's why people as old as my dad are able to have those memories from back then, and now I get to enjoy it and share it with you, and tourists get to enjoy it as well. But before you leave, you must also visit the Jellyfish Island and use goggles to see the thin and stretchy jellyfish that inhabit the ocean. Um, Again, this is an example of Palau being very well preserved, because if we have tons of trash and toxic, waste in the ocean, these jellyfish would not be there today. So yeah, you take goggles and you just go into the ocean and snorkel, and the water is usually pretty dark, has like some kind of like usually debris in it, trees, that sort of thing, and you'll be able to see them. And they're very friendly. They don't sting. Um, so yeah, and that the jellyfish island, of course, there's not enough time to really speak about it, but it's a whole process to get there, and a whole hike to be able to get to the place where these jellyfish live. So it's important that we keep them safe so we can continue to see them. It's also something that's encouraged in the Palau Pledge to, respect the water animals, and don't try to, I mean, take them home with you, touch them in ways that they're not going to be enjoying. Um, all of that being common sense. But in conclusion, thank you so much for traveling me and taking time to listen to me talk about a country that is very near and dear to my heart. I also want to emphasize the fact that we as Palauans, we obviously love tourism, and we're really glad to share our culture with you, and we do benefit from tourism, but tourism is something that cannot exist and thrive as a industry and be sustainable if it's causing more harm than it is good. Um, it is very easy to follow these simple guidelines, so that way we can all enjoy a beautiful place such as Palau for years to come. Also, as I said in my speech in class, my call to action is to actually encourage other countries to hopefully enact something like this for our own tourist destinations, whatever those may be. As Palau is one of the first countries to really produce their own way of still encouraging tourists, but putting limitations and setting those boundaries, so that way tourism can continue to exist, and we can share a very beautiful place such as Palau with them for years to come. So thank you so much, and that is my speech.